Welcome back to Midnight Fatal Cases. Tonight's story is about something darker than violence itself, an audience. A crime staged for the camera, sold as exclusive, and broadcast in the deepest corners of the internet. No ghosts, no myths, just real people, real fear, and a system built to turn suffering into entertainment. If you're here for sensationalism, this isn't that kind of channel. We tell these cases with restraint, respect, and the details that matter. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Hook. At 2:17 a.m., the only light in Evan Mercer's apartment came from a laptop screen and the thin blue glow of a router that never slept. Outside, rain tapped the window in a slow, stubborn rhythm. Inside, Evan sat very still, one hand on the mouse, the other wrapped around a mug that had gone cold an hour ago. He wasn't watching a movie. He wasn't gaming. He wasn't even scrolling. He was waiting for a single line of text to change. The chat window on the screen was bare, almost empty, like an abandoned room. Then it updated. A new message appeared without warning, as if it had always been there and Evan's eyes had only just learned how to see it. Live in 10. No username. No icon. No explanation. Just those 3 words. Evan felt the familiar flicker of adrenaline and shame. He told himself for the 100th time that he wasn't like the others. He wasn't here for cruelty. He wasn't here for blood. He was here because he couldn't stop thinking about what people were capable of doing when they believed no one would ever hold them accountable. A rationalization, he knew. A cover story for himself. He glanced at the clock on the kitchen wall. The second hand moved with an ordinary domestic patience. The world beyond his apartment was quiet, normal. Somewhere in the building, a heater clicked on. Someone's pipe sighed. A dog barked once, then stopped. And yet, in 10 minutes, something was going to happen that had nothing to do with normal life. Evan dragged the cursor over a dark page filled with blank space and a single embedded player that had not yet loaded. The site had no branding, no logo, no menu. Only a short string of numbers at the top, like a prison tag. He had followed a trail to get here. It had started weeks ago with a rumor buried inside a forum that pretended to be about cryptocurrency. A comment, a reply to that comment, a private message, a key, then another key. At each step, Evan had expected it to collapse into a hoax, to reveal itself as theater. That would have been easier. Embarrassing maybe, but safe. Instead, each step had felt deliberate, curated. As if someone, somewhere, had decided Evan was exactly the kind of person they wanted watching. His phone buzzed on the table. A new notification from an unknown number. No contact name. No country code he recognized. Don't record it. Evan's throat tightened. He hadn't told anyone he was here. He hadn't posted. He hadn't asked for access publicly. He had moved quietly, the way you move when you don't want to be noticed. But whoever was behind this had noticed anyway. He stared at the message until the screen dimmed, then lit again as his thumb brushed it. "Okay," he whispered, though there was no one to hear him. The rain kept tapping. The countdown appeared in the corner of the video player. 10 minutes dropping to 9:59, 9:58. In the chat, more messages blinked into existence. Not many. Maybe 24 users. The names were nonsense, scrambled letters and numbers, but the tone was unmistakable. Finally. Paid too much for this. No games tonight. Show it. Evan's fingers hovered above the keyboard. He wanted to type something. Anything. He wanted to ask what was going to happen. He wanted to ask who the victim was. He wanted to ask where. He did none of those things. Instead, he leaned back and listened to the apartment around him, as if he might hear something meaningful in the ordinary noises. A pipe groaned. A car passed in the distance. The laptop fan whispered like breath. The countdown ticked lower. 5 minutes. Evan's mind tried to fill the empty space with possibilities. Maybe it would be a staged beating, fake blood, and shaky acting. Maybe it would be a sick prank. Maybe it would be nothing at all, a scam for money and attention. He had to believe that. For his own sanity. Then the screen flickered. The embedded player, previously a flat black rectangle, brightened into motion. For a second, the camera showed only darkness and faint grain, like a night vision lens struggling to focus. A small symbol in the corner indicated a live feed, not a file. There was no buffering, no rewind bar. Only now. A low hum filled Evan's speakers, the sound of electricity or distant machinery. Then the image stabilized. A room. Bare walls. Concrete stained by old moisture. A single overhead light that buzzed and pulsed. The kind of light you find in underground parking garages, in forgotten storage units, in places not meant for living. At the center of the frame was a chair. Metal legs. Scratched seat. The chair faced the camera like an accusation. Behind it, a doorway hung open into deeper darkness. For a moment, nothing moved. In the chat, the messages came faster. There it is. Real feed. Look at the chair. Where is this? Evan's skin prickled along his arms. He felt suddenly aware of his own breathing, too loud in the quiet apartment. He lowered the volume slightly, then raised it again, unsure why, as if he could control the shape of what he was about to hear. A footstep echoed from the darkness beyond the doorway. Slow. Measured. Not hurried. The camera did not move. It had been set up on something steady, a tripod or a shelf. Whoever was filming had planned this framing. They wanted the viewer to stare at the empty chair and imagine what would soon occupy it. Another footstep. Then a figure entered the edge of the frame. Not fully. Just an arm, then a shoulder. The person was wearing gloves, black and tight, and a jacket with a hood pulled up. Their face remained hidden by the angle and the shadow. They paused beside the chair and placed a hand on the backrest almost gently, like they were checking if it was positioned correctly. In Evan's apartment, his pulse began to pound behind his eyes. The chat exploded. Do it. No talking. Mask up. We're waiting. The figure lifted their head slightly, as if listening. Then from somewhere off camera, another sound emerged. A soft, muffled noise. Not a scream. Not words. Something like someone breathing through fabric. Or trying to. Evan's stomach dropped. The figure stepped away from the chair and moved toward the doorway. For a second, the camera angle caught a glimpse of movement in the darkness beyond. Something pale, something unsteady. The figure returned, dragging someone into the light. A person. Adult. Their hands were bound behind their back with tape or plastic ties. A strip of dark cloth covered their mouth. Their hair was messy, stuck to their forehead with sweat. Their eyes were open wide, reflective in the harsh overhead light. Evan's fingers went numb. He could not look away. The captive stumbled, knees buckling, and the hooded figure held them upright with an arm locked around their chest. The captive's eyes darted toward the camera. And in that instant, Evan felt something he had not expected. Recognition, not of the face exactly. Not like seeing a friend. Recognition like you get when you've seen someone before without meaning to. A photo on a news site. A missing person poster at a train station. A brief clip shared and forgotten. Evan leaned closer until his breath fogged the edge of the screen. The captive's eyes met the lens again, pleading in the only way they could. The hooded figure forced them into the chair. The chair screeched against the concrete. The sound was sharp, intimate, real. The captive struggled, shoulders twisting, but the bindings held. The hooded figure stepped behind them and wrapped something around their chest, rope maybe, securing them to the backrest. Each pull was efficient. Practiced. In the chat, someone typed, "Say their name." Evan watched the hooded figure lean toward the captive's ear, as if whispering. The captive flinched. Then the hooded figure moved into the front of the frame, finally facing the camera. They did not reveal their face. A mask covered it, smooth, pale, featureless like a blank mannequin. Eye holes cut out and shadowed, giving nothing away. The figure stood very still for 3 full seconds. And then, on the screen, text appeared over the video feed in clean white letters. One rule, don't look away. Evan's mouth went dry. His phone buzzed again insistently, like an alarm trying to wake him from a dream. A new message. If you know them, close it now. Evan stared at those words until they blurred. Behind the mask, the figure lifted a hand, and for the first time, Evan noticed what they were holding. A small camera, not the one streaming. A second one. They raised it toward the captive's face and turned it on, the tiny red light glowing. Evan realized with a sick clarity that this was not just being filmed. It was being filmed twice. One camera for the audience, one camera for something else. For proof. For memory. For later. The captive's eyes squeezed shut, then opened again, wet and shining. The mask tilted as if considering them, like an animal studying prey. Evan's hand moved toward the laptop lid. He could slam it shut. He could end it. He could pretend he never saw what he was seeing, but his body would not obey, because there was another thought now louder than the fear. If he closed it, the person in that chair would still be there, and the only people who would witness what happened next would be the ones who wanted it. The countdown, which Evan had forgotten, had been replaced by a simple label, live. The chat continued to scroll. The names blurred into a single hungry voice. Evan's own reflection hovered faintly on the laptop screen, pale, wide-eyed, frozen. On the feed, the hooded figure reached down and lifted the cloth from the captive's mouth, just enough to speak. The captive drew in a shaking breath. Their lips trembled. They began to say something, and the stream cut to black. Not a glitch, not a buffer, a deliberate blackout. The chat erupted with confusion, anger, demands. Evan stared at the darkness, hearing only the rain and his own heartbeat. Then, in the center of the black screen, a new line of text appeared. "You're still here," and below it a second line as calm as a contract. Good. Evan's phone buzzed one more time. He didn't want to look, but he did. A final message from the unknown number. "Now we know where to find you." Character count, no spaces, 8,468. Chapter 2. Context and People. Evan Mercer did not close the laptop after the screen went dark. He sat there long after the final message appeared, hands resting uselessly on either side of the keyboard as if his body had been unplugged from its instructions. The rain outside continued its quiet work. Somewhere, water ran through old pipes. The building breathed the way it always did. Nothing had changed. And yet everything had. Evan was 32 years old. He lived alone in a narrow apartment on the 4th floor of a converted factory building that had once produced machine parts and now produced silence. He paid his rent on time. He worked remotely as a freelance data analyst for mid-sized companies that didn't ask many questions and didn't want many answers beyond clean spreadsheets and quiet efficiency. He had no criminal record, no history of violence, no reputation beyond reliable and keeps to himself. If someone had been asked to describe him, they might have mentioned his habit of pausing before he spoke, as if weighing every sentence for risk. They might have said he listened more than he talked. They would not have said he was reckless. They would not have imagined him watching a murder announcement on an illegal live stream at 2 a.m. Evan finally reached out and closed the laptop, not with urgency, but with care. He unplugged it from the charger. He stood and carried it into the bedroom, placing it inside the closet beneath a folded winter coat he hadn't worn in years, as if hiding it would make the night less real. He washed his hands at the sink until the skin reddened. He stood under the shower, water beating down on his shoulders, replaying fragments he could not dislodge. The chair, the eyes, the second camera. When he lay in bed, sleep did not come. His mind insisted on order, on tracing how he had ended up there, step by step, like reconstructing a path through a forest after you realize someone followed your footprints. It had not begun with violence. It never did. 6 months earlier, Evan had been hired by a non-profit organization that monitored extremist content online. His task was simple in theory: map how certain forums migrated, split, and reassembled when platforms shut them down. Track usernames, posting patterns, linguistic habits, identify clusters before they grew. It was tedious work, mostly. Endless scrolling through banal hatred and recycled rhetoric, but occasionally something stranger surfaced. Threads that didn't argue or recruit. Threads that simply waited. One of those threads had caught Evan's attention late one night. It was buried deep inside a forum disguised as a marketplace for privacy tools. No keywords, no obvious purpose. Just a sequence of numbers posted at regular intervals by different users, always followed by silence. Evan had flagged it out of professional curiosity, then returned to it on his own time. He told himself he was just practicing pattern recognition, training his instincts. The numbers turned out to be timestamps, future ones. At first, nothing happened when they arrived. Then, one night, a short video link appeared beneath a timestamp, live only for a minute before disappearing. Evan hadn't clicked it. He had told himself that was restraint. But the timestamps continued. And eventually, so did the videos. They were small things at first. A locked door rattling from the other side. A person crying softly, face off camera. A gloved hand holding a photograph just long enough to be seen, then burned. No deaths. No explicit harm. Just enough to suggest something was being prepared. Evan should have reported it. He knew that. He even drafted an internal memo once, then deleted it before sending. There was no clear crime yet. No identifiable faces. No jurisdiction. He had convinced himself it would lead nowhere. What he did not admit, even privately, was that the threads made him feel awake. They cut through the numbness that had settled over his life after a series of quiet losses. A relationship that ended without drama. A father who died between phone calls. Friends who drifted into marriages and mortgages and stopped calling back. The internet at least responded when you stared into it. The night of the live stream, Evan had not gone looking for it. A message had appeared in his encrypted inbox. One he used rarely, shared only with a handful of professional contacts. No more teasers. That was all it said. Below it, a string of characters that resolved into an access key when pasted into the right browser, at the right depth. Evan told himself he would just look. Just verify. Just gather enough to justify escalation. He did not tell himself what he would do if it was real. Across the city, unaware of Evan's apartment or his hesitation, another life was unfolding on a very different schedule. Her name was Lena Brooks. She was 26 years old. She worked as a junior producer for a small online media outlet that specialized in human interest stories. She lived with 2 roommates in an apartment that smelled faintly of coffee grounds and old books. She called her mother every Sunday and complained about money like it was a ritual. Lena was not famous. She did not have a large following. She was, by every measurable standard, ordinary, which was exactly why she had agreed to help a friend with a documentary project 2 weeks before she vanished. The friend was someone she had met at a freelance networking event, Daniel Cross. Late 30s, well-spoken. Claimed to be an independent filmmaker interested in the ethics of online anonymity. He had asked thoughtful questions. He had listened when she spoke. He had not set off alarms. They met twice in public. A café, a shared workspace. He showed her clips of abstract footage, long shots of empty rooms and urban decay, overlaid with narration about isolation in the digital age. He said he wanted to include a segment about how people curated personas online versus who they really were. He asked if she would be willing to participate in an interview. She hesitated, then agreed. She told her roommates she'd be back by dinner. She never was. When Lena failed to come home that night, it did not feel immediately like a crisis. Phones died. Plans changed. She texted her mother late sometimes and forgot to follow up. By morning, concern had settled in, heavy but still rational. By evening, it had hardened into fear. Her disappearance did not make national news. It appeared briefly on a local bulletin. A photo circulated on social media. Lena smiling slightly, hair pulled back, eyes squinting against sunlight. Missing. Have you seen her? Evan had seen that photo before. He realized it as he lay staring at the ceiling, the memory snapping into place with cruel precision. He had scrolled past it days earlier without stopping. Another face among many. Another story that would likely resolve quietly or not at all. But on the live stream, under the buzzing light, bound to a chair, he had seen those eyes again. And now, somewhere in the city, Lena's mother was waiting for a call that would not come. Her roommates were replaying their last conversation, searching for clues that were never meant to be clues. And Evan Mercer was sitting alone with a truth he could not unknow. Someone had chosen Lena. Someone had planned it. And someone had invited an audience. The people behind the stream were not chaotic. They were not impulsive. They understood timing. They understood anticipation. They understood that the most powerful weapon was not the act itself, but the knowledge that it was coming. Evan checked his phone again. No new messages. No threats. Just silence. It felt intentional, like the pause before a door opened. Character count. No spaces. 14,932. Chapter 3. Escalation. Evan tried to behave like the kind of person who had never seen what he had seen. He made coffee. He answered 2 client emails. He built a pivot table. He spoke to no one. He kept his voice calm when he muttered numbers under his breath, as if routine could overwrite memory. But the feed had planted itself behind his eyes. Every time he blinked, he saw the chair. Every time the apartment creaked, he heard the scrape of metal across concrete. By late morning, the rain had thinned to a pale drizzle, and daylight made his place feel smaller, more exposed. He found himself checking the peephole without knowing why. He listened for footsteps in the hallway and tried to convince himself that the normal sounds of other tenants were not signals. At noon, he opened his laptop again. Not the work computer. The other one. He took the winter coat off it like he was uncovering something fragile and dangerous. His hands hovered, then he powered it on. He expected the screen to glare at him with accusation. Instead, it loaded like any machine. A logo, a password prompt, a brief moment of empty trust. He connected to a network he never used for anything legal, routed through layers he had built over months with the care of someone who didn't want to be found. Then he stopped, because the warning on his phone had changed the shape of the night. Now we know where to find you. It could have been theater, a line crafted to keep him afraid, to keep him returning, but it had arrived on his phone, not in the chat. And the second message, if you know them, close it now, had felt less like taunting and more like instruction. Evan told himself that meant something. He opened a blank document and began to write down what he remembered, as if he were taking notes for a report he still intended to make. Time 2:17 a.m. Room, concrete, single overhead light, chair centered, doorway behind. Subject, female, mid-20s, bound, gag removed briefly. Perp, hood, gloves, blank mask. Text overlay. One rule, don't look away. He stared at the list until the letters began to look like shapes rather than words. Then he typed one more line. Possible ID Lena Brooks. His fingers paused on the keyboard. He could delete it. He could leave it vague and safer. Instead, he forced himself to add the one detail that had convinced him. Eyes match missing poster. Evan opened a browser and searched her name on the surface web, the way a normal person would. The results were thin. A local police notice, a small article from her workplace, a handful of social posts from friends that had begun with optimism and ended with pleading. He clicked the workplace article. A short bio. Junior producer, passionate about telling stories that matter. A photo, brighter than the missing poster, taken in daylight. Lena smiling with tired eyes and a lanyard around her neck. Evan's stomach tightened. He clicked through to comments. Most were empty sympathy. One stood out because it was new and because it did not sound like a person trying to help. She wanted a story. Now she has one. The account had no profile picture. The username was a string of characters, almost like the prison tag on the stream page. Evan copied it into his notes. He shouldn't have. A minute later, his cursor began to stutter. Not lag, not a slow connection. Something more precise. As if an invisible hand was tapping his mouse at the same time, nudging it away from where he wanted it to go. He froze, watching. The cursor drifted toward the corner of the screen. It clicked once without him. A new tab opened. Black background. White text. No URL bar, just a page delivered through the same hidden route as the feed. 2 lines of text waited for him, already there. You're early. Good. Evan's throat went tight. He slammed the laptop lid down, hard enough that the hinge squeaked. For a full minute he sat motionless, palms flat on the closed plastic as if holding something inside it. Then he opened it again. The page was still there. A third line appeared as if his hesitation had been watched. Don't pretend you're not curious. Evan's mind raced through possibilities. Malware. A compromised node. A clever script that opened a tab when he visited certain pages. A coincidence. He did not believe it was coincidence. He typed, fingers shaking, into the only field on the page. "Who is this?" The response came immediately, like a practiced reflex. "A curator," Evans swallowed. "What do you want?" Another instant reply. "An honest witness." Evans stared at the words until the edges of the letters seemed to bleed into the black. He wanted to throw the laptop across the room. He wanted to call the police and shout until someone took him seriously. He wanted to rewind the night and choose not to click. Instead, he typed the question that mattered most. Is she alive? There was a longer pause this time. Not long enough to be human hesitation, but long enough to feel like deliberate suspense. Then, she is still breathing. For now. Evan felt nausea rise in his throat. He typed again. Why her? The answer appeared in fragments, line by line, as if the person on the other end enjoyed pacing. She said she could tell any story. She said people aren't real until they're seen. Evan's hands went cold. He thought of Lena agreeing to an interview with Daniel Cross. He thought of her saying yes because she believed she was helping make something meaningful. He thought of a person being punished for a sentence that sounded harmless in daylight. Evan typed one more message. Daniel Cross? This time the reply did not come in text. The page flickered and an image loaded, grainy, like a still pulled from a low-quality camera. A man in a cafe, late 30s, collared shirt, a faint smile that looked practiced. The angle suggested the photo had been taken without him noticing. Under it, a caption, not his name. Evan's jaw tightened. Who then? The cursor blinked in the text field, patient. Then the response arrived. Names are for police. We are not for police. The chat box vanished. In its place appeared a countdown. 72 hours. Below it, a simple prompt. Watch again. Evan's body reacted before his mind did. His breath shortened. His shoulders tightened as if bracing for impact. 72 hours meant the feed would return. It meant the chair would not stay empty. Evan closed the laptop and walked to the window. He pressed his forehead to the cold glass and looked down at the street 4 floors below. People moved through the afternoon with grocery bags and umbrellas. A cyclist threaded between cars. A couple argued quietly at a crosswalk, then laughed like nothing had happened. No one looked up. Evan realized how easy it would be for something terrible to exist alongside normal life, unnoticed, until the moment it demanded attention. He couldn't carry this alone. He considered his options like a man inventorying tools he didn't trust. If he went to the police, he would have to admit how he'd accessed the feed. He would have to expose methods he used for work, maybe violate contracts, maybe implicate himself. He would sound paranoid. He would sound like someone making things up to feel important. If he did nothing, Lena would die in a concrete room while strangers watched. Evan sat at the kitchen table and found the local non-emergency police number. His finger hovered over the call button. Then his phone buzzed. Not a message this time. A photo. It loaded slowly, pixel by pixel, like a punishment. A picture of his building, taken from across the street, angled upward toward the 4th floor. Toward his window. No caption. No explanation. Just proof. Evan's lungs locked. He stood so fast the chair scraped the floor. He turned and scanned the street below. People. Cars. Rain. No obvious watcher. No one holding a phone pointed at him. But the photo existed, meaning someone had been there recently, close enough to take it, close enough to know which window belonged to him. He backed away from the glass. The phone buzzed again, and this time the message was a single sentence. Tell them and she disappears forever. Evan's hands shook so violently he nearly dropped the device. He didn't know if it was true. He didn't know if they had a way to vanish Lena beyond recovery, or if it was just a threat designed to paralyze him. But he understood the psychology behind it. They were isolating him, turning his knowledge into a cage. He sat back down, forced himself to breathe in measured counts, and did the one thing he knew how to do when he felt cornered. He analyzed. He returned to the memory of the room, concrete walls, the hum of electricity, the buzzing overhead light, the echo in the footsteps, the damp stains that suggested underground or poor ventilation. He wrote down sensory details like clues. Echo suggests empty space nearby. Light fixture industrial. Temperature? Subject sweating, so warm or fear. No visible windows. He replayed the sound in his mind. A low hum, steady. It could be a generator. It could be HVAC. It could be a nearby transit line. He opened audio software and pulled up the only thing he had. Nothing. Because he had not recorded it. Don't record it. He had obeyed instinctively. Now he had no proof beyond memory and a missing person's poster. Evan tried to search for Daniel Cross again, but not his name made the task feel impossible. Still, Lena's workplace post mentioned the documentary segment she was filming for. Evan dug through her public profile, older posts, tagged photos. He found a comment from 3 weeks earlier. Big interview tomorrow. Wish me luck. A friend replied, with that director guy? The one with the scar? The one with the scar. Evan opened a search engine and typed combinations. Independent filmmaker, ethics anonymity, scar, local event. It returned too many faces, too many false matches. Then he remembered something else from the live stream. The second camera. Why would someone film the captive's face separately unless they needed a close-up? Unless the expression itself was the product. Unless the audience was paying for intimacy. Evan's phone buzzed again. This time there was no threat. Just an address. Not a full address. A street name and a building number, missing the city. And beneath it, you like patterns. Find the rest. Evan stared at the screen until his eyes watered. It was a game, not just cruelty. A test. If he solved it, what then? Another key? Another access level? Another role in the story they were writing? Evan's first impulse was to throw the phone away. His second was worse. He opened a map and began to type the street name. The first match was in his city, 20 minutes away, in an industrial district near old rail lines. Evan's heart thudded. He zoomed in. The building number corresponded to a block of warehouses and storage units. The kind of place where concrete rooms existed behind metal doors. The kind of place where a camera could run without anyone asking why. Evan sat perfectly still, feeling the floor drop out beneath him. If the address was real, Lena might be there. If the address was a trap, Evan might be the next chair in the center of the frame. He didn't notice he was whispering until he heard his own voice. "Think," he said. "Think." A knock sounded at his door. 3 sharp taps. Evan froze. The knock came again, slower this time, as if the person on the other side wanted to make sure he understood he had been heard. Evan's apartment suddenly felt too small to hold air. He moved silently toward the door and pressed his eye to the peephole. The hallway was empty. No figure. No hood. No mask. Only a small package on the floor, centered perfectly in front of his door like a gift. Evan stared at it for several seconds, waiting for movement, for a string attached to it, for a trick. Nothing. He unlocked the door and opened it just enough to reach out and drag the package inside. Then he shut and locked it again, leaning his weight against the wood as if it might fight back. The package was plain cardboard. No return address. No postage. It smelled faintly of damp paper and something metallic. On top was a note, handwritten in block letters. "For your report." His hands trembled as he lifted the lid. Inside was a USB drive, black, unmarked. And beneath it a photograph. Not of his building. Not of his window. A still image of the concrete room, the chair centered, the doorway yawning behind it. Only this time the chair was empty, and someone had placed an object on the seat. A small laminated press badge. Lena's name printed beneath her photo. Evan's vision tunneled, because the badge in the photograph was not lying there by chance. It was placed like a signature, like a promise, and like a reminder that whoever controlled the feed could enter and leave that room whenever they wanted, including now. Character count, no spaces, 25,584, Chapter 4. The turning point. Evan did not plug the USB drive into his computer right away. He left it on the kitchen table and walked slow circles around it, as if distance could change what it was. The photograph lay beside it. Lena's press badge on the chair. The empty room behind it. The overhead light frozen mid-flicker. "For your report." It was a joke, and it wasn't. It was an invitation, and it was a threat. It meant, we know the language you use to make yourself feel clean. We know the story you tell yourself about evidence, about responsibility, about observing without touching. He sat down and stared at the USB until his eyes ached. The most dangerous thing about it was not what it might contain. It was what it implied, that he had already been assigned a role. Evan's work laptop sat closed on the other side of the room, innocent and ordinary. His personal phone lay face down, as if he could silence the world by refusing to look at it. The other laptop, the one he used for the hidden routes, waited in the bedroom closet like a weapon he was afraid to pick up. He forced himself to do something practical. He picked up the photograph and examined it the way he would have in an office, under fluorescent lights, with colleagues nearby. He noted angles, shadows, distortions. The image was sharper than the stream had been. It had been taken from the same camera position, centered, steady. That meant whoever made it had access to the camera, to the room, to the feed. He looked closer at the concrete wall to the left of the chair. There was a faint mark there, something like a smear or a scratch. On the stream, he had not noticed it. Now, in stillness, it resolved into a partial symbol drawn in dark ink. Not a letter. Not a number. A simple shape, 2 parallel lines crossing a circle. Evan's stomach tightened. It looked like a crude logo. A sign, something meant to be recognized. He had seen similar marks online before. Not this exact one, but the impulse behind it. Groups leaving their fingerprints in the margins, not for the public, but for each other. His phone vibrated again. This time, the screen lit with no message preview, just a calendar invite. No sender name. The title was a single word. Witness. The time was tomorrow night, 2 a.m., and beneath it, a location pin, the warehouse district. The same area his map had pulled up from the partial address. Evan's heart thudded. They weren't just telling him where Lena might be. They were telling him when. Evan sat with the phone in his hand, thumb hovering over the option to delete the invite. He did not delete it. He did not accept it either. He set the phone down like it might burn him. He needed help. He needed someone who could act without freezing. But the threat still rang in his skull. Tell them, and she disappears forever. Evan had spent years learning what leverage sounded like. Real coercion was never dramatic. It was precise. It didn't say, I will hurt you. It said, I already can. And they had proven it with that photo of his building, with the tab that opened itself, with the package left outside his door. Evan knew, in the quiet way you know a floorboard will snap because you've stepped on it before, that they could reach him again if they wanted to. Still, doing nothing felt like agreeing. He opened his contacts list and scrolled until he found the only person he trusted with a confession that could ruin him. Marla Keene. They had worked together years ago at a cybersecurity firm before Evan went freelance. Marla was the kind of person who spoke in short sentences and never softened her conclusions. She wasn't warm exactly, but she was reliable in the only way that mattered. When she saw a threat, she acted like it was real. Evan stared at her name for a long time. Then he called. She answered on the third ring. Mercer, she said, as if he'd interrupted something. This better be good. Evan's mouth went dry. I need you to listen, he said. And I need you not to ask me why I was there. Not yet. A pause. Okay. Evan told her about the stream in fragments. The countdown. The chair. The masked figure. The captive. The blackout. He avoided the word murder because the stream had cut before anything happened, but the meaning hung in every gap. He told her about Lena Brooks, the missing poster, the press badge on the chair. Marla did not interrupt. When he finished, she exhaled slowly. You have screenshots? She asked. No, Evan said. They told me not to record. I didn't. Jesus. Another pause, sharper. Do you have anything? Evan looked at the USB on the table. They left me a drive. Do not plug it into your machine, Marla said instantly. If it's real, it's dirty. I know. Where are you right now? At home. Are you alone? Yes. Don't stay there tonight, Marla said. If they have your building, they have your schedule. Evan swallowed. They sent me a location. A warehouse district. Tomorrow at 2. Marla's voice hardened. This is bait. I think Lena might be there. And I think they want you to walk in. Marla paused. Listen, if you're serious about doing something, we do it smart. You give me the drive. I'll image it in a sandbox. We see what's on it without letting it see us. Evan stared at the USB again. What if they're watching me right now? Assume they are, Marla said. Then assume they'll watch what you do next. So we do something they can't predict. Evan felt a bleak laugh rise and die. Like what? Like not showing up alone, Marla said. Like not being the only witness. Evan's throat tightened. You're saying you'll come. I'm saying, if there's a chance a real person is being held somewhere, I'm not going to sit on my hands. But we don't call the police yet. Not directly. Evan's stomach lurched. Why not? Because if you're right, Marla said, and they're running a live audience, they may have spotters. They may have scanners. They may have a plan for sirens. If we trigger that, she dies. Or vanishes. Or both. Evan gripped the edge of the table until his knuckles went white. So what do we do? Marla's answer came with no hesitation. We verify. We find the place. We watch. We get her out if we can. And if we can't, we collect enough to force a response that can't be ignored. Evan felt his chest constrict. The idea of getting her out sounded heroic in the way movies made it sound. In real life, it sounded like a mistake that ended with a second chair, a second captive. But there was no alternative that didn't taste like cowardice. When can you meet? He asked. Tonight, Marla said. An hour. Bring the drive. And don't take your usual route. Evan hung up and sat still. His hands were shaking again, but now the shaking had direction. He packed quickly. A hoodie, a jacket, his wallet, his phone, the hidden laptop. He hesitated, then took the photograph too. He slipped the USB into a small metal tin, not because it would protect it, but because it made him feel less exposed. As he left the apartment, he forced himself to lock the door with deliberate calm, the way you do when you don't want the world to see you panic. The hallway smelled like old paint and damp carpet. Somewhere, a television murmured. Someone laughed behind a door. Evan walked down the stairs and out into the gray afternoon. He kept his head down, but his eyes tracked reflections in windows, glances in parked cars, any hint of someone watching. Nothing obvious. That was almost worse. He took a taxi across town, then got out 2 blocks early and walked. He cut through an alley and crossed a small park where wet leaves stuck to his shoes. He arrived at the address Marla had texted, a co-working space that rented private rooms by the hour. Marla was already inside, seated at a table with a small, hard case open in front of her. The case held equipment Evan recognized in the way you recognize a scalpel, tools designed to touch dangerous things without being touched. Marla looked up as he entered. Her hair was pulled back, her eyes sharp, her expression unreadable. "You look awful," she said. Evan set the metal tin on the table. "I didn't sleep." Marla didn't respond. She opened the tin with 2 fingers like it was contaminated. She held the USB up to the light. "No markings," she murmured. "Of course." She slid a small device from her case, an adapter with write-blocking hardware, and connected it to a separate laptop that looked purpose-built. No stickers. No personal files. No warmth. Evan watched her work, mesmerized by the calm of someone who had already accepted that the world was ugly and decided to handle it anyway. The drive mounted. A single folder appeared. Inside were 3 files. One was a text document titled RULES. The second was a video file titled Proof. The third was a file with no extension, just a name, Ledger. Marla clicked Rules first. Evan leaned in. The document contained 5 lines. No police. No recording. No names in chat. "Don't look away!" "Pay to vote." Evan's blood chilled. "Pay to vote?" Marla's jaw tightened. "This isn't just voyeurism," she said. "It's interactive." She clicked Proof. A video opened. The first frame was the concrete room, the chair, the overhead light. Then the camera shifted, handheld now, closer, moving. The hooded figure stood behind the chair. Lena sat bound, breathing hard, eyes wet. The cloth gag had been removed, and her mouth moved. The audio was clear. "I said yes," Lena whispered. "I didn't know. I didn't, please." A voice off camera spoke, calm and almost polite, filtered enough to distort, but human. "Tell them what you told me," the voice said. Lena swallowed. "I told you. I could tell any story." "And what did you say about being seen?" the voice asked. Lena's eyes flicked toward the camera, then away. "That people aren't real until they're seen," the voice hummed softly, as if satisfied. "Then we will see you," it said. "All of you." The video cut. Evan felt his stomach twist. "They made her say it," he whispered. Marla's face had gone still in a way Evan recognized as anger being contained. "They're constructing consent," she said quietly. "Not real consent. The performance of it. So the audience can tell themselves a story." Evan stared at the frozen frame. Lena's eyes were open, pleading, and the room around her looked even more ordinary in high resolution. Concrete. Cheap chair. A hanging light. A place you could walk past 100 times without noticing. Marla clicked the third file. Ledger opened as a list of transactions and usernames. More of those scrambled tags, each line paired with a timestamp and an amount. Hundreds of entries. Evan scanned it until his vision blurred. Then one line caught him because it wasn't an amount. It was a word. MRSA. A tag that looked like his own name, shaved down, simplified. Beside it was a number. $0.00. And beside that, a note. Invited. Evan's chest constricted. "They put me in their ledger." Marla's eyes flicked to him. "They were tracking you before last night," she said. "This is a system. They recruit. They test. They bring people in." Evan swallowed hard. "And tomorrow?" Marla scrolled to the bottom. Another entry, newest. Witness. $0.00 invited vote unlocks at 1:55. Evan felt cold spread through his limbs. They're going to let people vote on what happens. Marla didn't answer immediately. She closed the laptop and sat back, fingers pressed to her temple. "This is bigger than a kidnapping," she said at last. "This is an operation." Evan's voice sounded far away even to himself. "How do we stop it?" Marla looked up. "We don't stop it tonight," she said. "We stop Lena from being killed. Then we blow the rest open." Evan stared at her. "How?" Marla reached into her case and pulled out a folded map she had printed, marked with circles and notes. "I ran the street name and building number you said," she told him. "There are 3 possible matches in this city. 2 are dead ends, office complexes, 2 public. 1 is warehouses near the rail spur." She tapped the map. "This one. It's privately owned storage. The kind with rented units inside. No windows. Good soundproofing. Easy to control access." Evan's mouth went dry. "So we go there. We scout first," Marla said. "Tonight. In daylight. We look for cameras, patrols, anything that suggests activity at odd hours. Then tomorrow we position ourselves before 2. We don't go in blind." Evan felt his hands start to shake again. "What if she's moved?" "Then we'll know," Marla said. "Because they want you to know. They want you on the hook. If they move her, it's part of the show. They'll leave breadcrumbs." Evan stared at the map. He wanted to believe there was a path that ended with Lena alive. He wanted to believe there was a version of this story where he did not become what they were trying to make him. He asked the question he was afraid of. "What if they're expecting exactly this?" he said. "What if they want us to come?" Marla's eyes didn't flinch. "They do," she said. "That doesn't mean we give them what they want." They left the co-working space just before dusk. Marla drove an old sedan that looked like it belonged to a cautious accountant. No flashy plates. No tinted windows. She didn't speed. She didn't check her phone. She moved like someone who had decided fear was a waste of time. Evan sat in the passenger seat, shoulders tight, eyes fixed on passing buildings. His mind kept returning to the line in the rules document, "Pay to vote." He imagined dozens, maybe hundreds of watchers buying the right to choose a stranger's pain. He imagined them telling themselves it wasn't real, or that she deserved it, or that it was art, or that it was justice. He imagined, worst of all, that some of them didn't need stories at all. They reached the warehouse district as daylight thinned. The area smelled of wet asphalt and oil. Streetlights blinked on one by one, casting cones of pale light that didn't reach the corners. The buildings were low and wide, most of them shut for the evening. A freight train sat idle on rusted tracks, cars tagged with graffiti and grime. Marla parked 2 blocks away and killed the engine. "Phone off," she said. Evan hesitated, then did it. The sudden silence felt like stepping into deeper water. They walked, keeping to the shadowed side of the street, stopping occasionally as if checking directions. Evan's heart hammered. Every passing car felt like a spotlight. They reached the building Marla had circled on the map. It was a long structure with a corrugated metal facade and a row of roll-up doors. A small office section sat at one end, dark. A chain-link fence surrounded the lot, with a gate that looked like it could be opened remotely. A sign on the fence advertised storage units for rent. The phone number was printed in bold. Evan stared at the roll-up doors. They all looked the same. "This could be anywhere," he whispered. Marla crouched by the fence and examined the lock, the hinges, the keypad. "Look up," she murmured. Evan followed her gaze. A camera mounted under the roofline angled toward the gate. Another at the far corner aimed down the row of doors. "Normal security," Evan said. Marla's eyes narrowed. "Maybe," she said, "but look at the wiring." The cable ran unusually low, stapled in a way that suggested it had been installed recently, not integrated into the building's older infrastructure. Marla moved along the fence line until she found a spot where weeds had been crushed. Footprints in mud. Fresh. She pointed. "Someone's been here today," she whispered. Evan's mouth went dry. "Lena?" Marla didn't answer. She listened, head tilted. At first, Evan heard nothing. Then, faintly, from deep inside the building, a dull buzz like an overhead light. A hum of electricity, steady. The same hum he remembered from the stream. His skin prickled. Marla's gaze shifted to him. "You heard that," she said, not asking. Evan nodded. Marla took a slow breath. "Okay," she said. "We know where." Evan felt a surge of relief so sharp it almost hurt. Then dread immediately replaced it, because knowing where did not mean knowing how. They backed away from the fence and returned to the car, moving as if nothing mattered. Only when the doors were shut again did Evan let himself exhale. Marla started the engine, then stopped. "Wait," she said. Evan turned. "What?" Marla pointed toward the rearview mirror. A vehicle had turned onto the street behind them. A dark van, unmarked. It moved slowly, almost casually, then stopped near the storage building's gate. The driver did not get out. The van simply idled. Evan's chest tightened. "Is that them?" Marla didn't speak. Her hands were steady on the wheel. She watched. After a minute, the van's headlights flashed twice. The gate opened. The van rolled inside. The gate closed behind it. Evan felt cold spread through his stomach. "They're moving something," he whispered. Marla's voice was low and controlled. "Or someone," she said. Evan's mind leapt. "They're moving Lena now. They're relocating her because they sensed watchers. Because they saw Evan and Marla. But the van had entered like it belonged there. Like the building recognized it." Marla drove away without turning on the headlights for the first block, letting the streetlights cover them. When they reached a busier road, she merged into traffic. Evan's heart was pounding. "What do we do?" he asked. Marla's jaw tightened. "We don't follow," she said. "Not tonight. They could be testing reactions. They could be baiting us into a chase. We need to stay alive and stay invisible until tomorrow." Evan stared out the window, watching the district fade behind them. He thought of Lena in that concrete room, hearing a van arrive, not knowing if it meant food or a move or the end. Evan realized something then, with the kind of clarity that arrives only when you are already too deep. The turning point had already happened. Not on the stream, not when the chair appeared, not when the threats arrived. It had happened the moment he called Marla and said Lena's name out loud. Because now, there were two of them carrying this knowledge. Now it was not a private nightmare. Now it was an action. And actions have consequences. They returned to Marla's place, An apartment above a closed bookstore, quiet and sparse. She set Evan up on her couch with a blanket he didn't need. She brewed coffee at midnight like it was noon. She went over the plan again with the calmness of someone reciting a safety procedure. Arrive early. Observe. No hero moves. No rushing. If Lena appears, we take the chance. If she doesn't, we get proof. Evan listened, nodding, but his mind was elsewhere. Because he couldn't stop thinking about the ledger. Invited. He wasn't a random witness. He had been selected, shaped, nudged into place, which meant tomorrow wasn't just an execution. It was a demonstration. At 1:37 a.m., Evan's phone, powered off, sitting on Marla's table, lit up anyway. The screen flashed, then went dark, then flashed again, as if something was forcing itself through. Marla noticed at the same time Evan did. She moved fast, grabbing it, inspecting it like a live wire. "You turned this off," she said. "I did." The phone vibrated, then displayed a single line of text on the lock screen. "We like your friend." Evan felt his stomach drop. Marla's expression did not change, but Evan saw the tension in her jaw. Another line appeared beneath it. "She thinks she can win." Marla set the phone down slowly. "Okay," she said, voice even. "They're close. Close enough to punch through power states, or at least to spoof the interface." Evan's mouth was dry. "They're threatening you." "They're testing me," Marla corrected. "They want to know if I'll scare." Evan's hands clenched. What if they hurt her because of me? Marla looked at him for a long moment, then spoke softly, not unkindly. "They were going to hurt Lena whether you existed or not," she said. "They're using your guilt because it's effective. Don't hand it to them." Evan nodded, but the guilt did not leave. It merely shifted, like a weight being carried from one shoulder to the other. At 1:54 a.m., Marla's secure laptop chimed. She had set it to monitor the hidden route for activity. A new link had appeared. "Live." Marla looked at Evan. "We're not watching," she said. Evan's throat tightened. What if they show where she is? What if it's a clue? Marla shook her head once. "That's how they pull you in," she said. "They'll give you just enough to make you feel responsible for watching. Then they'll make you responsible for choosing." Evan stared at the word live, glowing on the screen like an open wound. He thought of the rule. Don't look away. He thought of the audience, paying to vote. He thought of Lena being made to speak lines that would later be used against her, to soothe strangers who needed permission. Marla clicked the link anyway. The screen filled with the same concrete room. The chair was there. Lena was there too, bound tighter now, head slumped forward, hair stuck to her cheek. Her eyes lifted when the camera focused, and Evan felt the shock of it in his chest. She was alive. She was breathing. Behind her stood the masked figure motionless. A new overlay appeared on the stream in clean white letters. Voting opens. Below it were two options. Option A, confession. Option B, silence. A timer began to count down from 60 seconds. Marla's face went hard. "Close it," she said. Evan couldn't move. He watched the timer drop, 59:58. The chat was a storm of comments, too fast to read. But one phrase repeated in different forms, like a chant. "Make her talk." Evan felt sick. Lena lifted her head slightly, as if she could sense the pressure of eyes. Her lips moved behind a new gag, thicker now, taped at the corners. Her breathing was shallow. The masked figure held up a phone to the camera. On its screen was a live tally bar sliding back and forth as votes poured in. Evan realized with horror that the audience was not voting on whether she lived. They were voting on how she would be broken first. The timer hit 10 seconds. Marla reached for the power button. Evan grabbed her wrist. "Wait," he whispered, voice raw. "We need to see what they choose." Marla looked at him, eyes sharp. "No," she said. "That's the hook. That's the turning point. The moment you tell yourself watching is helping." Evan's grip loosened. His throat burned. The timer hit 0. The screen flashed. Result, confession. The masked figure stepped behind Lena and removed the gag. Lena gasped, sucking air like a drowning person. Her voice came out broken. "I didn't," she began. The masked figure leaned close, unseen mouth near her ear. Lena flinched and spoke again, louder, forced. "I lied," she said, sobbing. "I lie. I make stories. I make people real by using them. I'm sorry." Evan felt tears sting his eyes, sudden and humiliating. This wasn't a confession. It was a script. It was a punishment tailored to her profession, designed to make her feel complicit in her own captivity. The masked figure turned her face toward the camera, gloved hand on her jaw. "Say it," the figure's distorted voice murmured, faint but audible through the mic. "Say you asked for this." Lena shook her head violently. "No," she choked. The masked figure's hand tightened. Lena's breath hitched. Then, under whatever pressure was being applied, pain, threat, something worse, her resistance collapsed. I asked," she whispered, voice small. "I asked to be seen." Evan made a sound like a broken inhale. Marla slammed the laptop shut. The room snapped back into ordinary darkness, the kind that belongs to closed screens and late nights. But Evan could still hear Lena's voice, as if the sound had lodged in his bones. Marla's voice cut through, controlled but urgent. "That," she said, "is why we don't watch. They don't just want an audience. They want accomplices. They want to spread guilt like a virus." Evan stared at the closed laptop. His hands were trembling. He understood now. The irreversible moment wasn't about violence. It was about participation. And he had almost chosen it. He had almost argued to keep watching. He had almost made himself part of the vote, even if his hands never clicked. Evan wiped his face, ashamed of the wetness there. "We go now," he said. "Before 2?" Marla nodded once. "We go now," she agreed. Outside, the city was still asleep. The air was cold and metallic. They moved without speaking, carrying only what they needed. Marla's hard case. Evan's phone, still somehow awake even when it shouldn't have been. In the car, Evan stared at the dark roads and thought of the ledger, of the invited tag beside his almost name. He understood something else too. They weren't just broadcasting Lena's suffering to strangers. They were broadcasting it to shape the next victim, to show what happened to people who believed visibility was power, to punish the instinct to document, to expose, to tell stories. Evan, who had told himself he was just an observer, felt the last of that lie crack. Tomorrow wasn't a story he could narrate. It was a place he had to reach. And the cost of reaching it would be that, afterward, he would never again be able to pretend he was simply watching from a safe distance. Character count, no spaces. 46,552, approximately 93% of the minimum 50,000 character limit, no spaces counted, has been used. Chapter 5. Fallout and Discovery. They arrived in the warehouse district at 1:41 a.m., early enough that the street still belonged to delivery trucks and stray cats, not witnesses. Marla kept the car moving, slow laps around the block, watching the storage building from different angles. Evan watched too, but his attention kept snagged on details that felt newly hostile. The blank faces of closed roll-up doors, the dark office windows, the way the streetlights left pockets of shadow big enough to hide a person. At 1:49, a second van appeared. Same shape, same unmarked sides. It stopped at the gate, idled for 20 seconds, then rolled inside when the keypad light flashed green. 2 vehicles, Marla murmured. That means more than one person. Evan's mouth tasted like metal. Or equipment. Marla didn't answer. She pulled into a side street and killed the engine. "We don't rush the gate," she said. "We confirm we're inside. Then we decide." Evan looked down at his phone. He hadn't turned it on since the last message, but the screen was awake anyway, displaying the stream's title like an infection. Witness. Beneath it, a small icon pulsed, as if begging to be tapped. "Don't," Marla said, reading his movement. "I'm not," Evan lied, then corrected himself. "I don't want to, but if it shows a door number..." Marla exhaled once, controlled. "If it shows you a door number, it's because they want you looking at the correct door when someone is looking back." Evan stared through the windshield. A freight train clanked somewhere in the distance, a dull sound that made the whole district feel subterranean. He thought of Lena hearing those sounds and trying to map them the way he had, hoping geography could be a rope she could hold. At 1:55, the building changed. Not visibly. The facade stayed dead and corrugated, the sign stayed cheap and peeling. But the pattern of light shifted. One corner camera's red indicator turned off, then on again. A security light over the office door flicked twice, Marla noticed. "They're toggling systems," she said. "Or signaling." Evan's phone buzzed with a new notification. It wasn't a message. It was a prompt. "Vote now." Below it, a single button. "Enter." Marla's eyes hardened. "They want you to step through," she said. Evan's thumb hovered over the screen, shaking. "If I press it, it might open the gate." "It might be tied to access." "It might," Marla said. "And it might mark you as active in their ledger. It might tell them your exact distance from the building. It might—" Evan pressed the button anyway. The moment he did, the gate across the street slid open a few inches, then fully, smooth and quiet. Evan's breath caught. It worked. Marla did not look impressed. She looked angry, but not at him exactly, at the inevitability of what he'd just proven. "Okay," she said. "Now we know how they're doing it. They're not just streaming. They're running access control through the same network. They built a stage." Evan's heart hammered. "So we can go in?" Marla's voice stayed low. "We can. And they'll know we did." Evan stared at the open gate. It looked like an invitation, but it felt like a mouth. They waited 30 seconds. No alarm. No sirens. No sudden flood of lights. Marla started the car and rolled forward, slow enough to stop if anything changed. They passed through the gate and into the lot. The air inside felt colder. Sound flattened, swallowed by concrete and metal. The roll-up doors lined both sides like numbered graves. A small keypad box blinked beside each one. Marla parked near the center and killed the headlights. "Listen," she whispered. Evan held his breath. At first, nothing. Then faintly, a buzz, the same industrial hum, and beneath it, a softer rhythm, something like a repeated tap, irregular, as if a cable was striking a wall or someone was moving against restraints. Evan's skin prickled. "That's her." Marla opened her hard case. She pulled out a small handheld receiver and a pair of headphones. "If they're running wireless cameras, we can sometimes catch leakage," she said. "If we can triangulate, we don't guess." Evan watched her move, grateful for her competence, ashamed of his own panic. The receiver's screen jittered with noise. Marla turned a dial slow. Static sharpened into fragments, a muffled voice, then nothing, then a burst of chat audio, laughs, typed words converted into flat synthetic speech, and then silence again. Marla's jaw tightened. "They're piping the stream audio inside," she said. "So the captive hears the audience." Evan swallowed hard. "To break her." "To make the audience feel present," Marla corrected. "Presence is the product." The receiver spiked when Marla aimed it toward the far end of the building. She pointed with her chin. "Unit row D," she said. "Near the corner." They walked, keeping close to the line of doors, stepping around puddles that reflected the security lights like dull mirrors. Evan's pulse was loud in his ears. Every few steps, he expected a door to roll up and someone to step out wearing a blank mask like a second face. Row D had fewer lights. The camera at the corner angled down, its indicator blinking in a steady pattern that felt too intentional to be ordinary. Marla stopped at door D14. The keypad beside it glowed. Evan's phone buzzed again in his pocket, insistent. He pulled it out. A message appeared. "Say hello." His throat tightened. "They know." Marla didn't look at his screen. She didn't need to. "Of course they know," she said softly. "The question is, do they want us here as prey or as entertainment?" From inside D14 came a faint sound, one sharp inhale, then a smothered sob. Evan's hand moved toward the door handle before he thought about it. Marla caught his wrist. "Not like that," she whispered. Metal doors scream. "You open this, you announce." Evan's eyes burned. "She's in there." Marla nodded once. "Then we do it fast, and we accept what it costs." She pulled a small tool from her case. Not a crowbar, not something cinematic. A slim, quiet device meant for keypads. She clipped it over the box and watched the tiny display count. Evan stared at the seams of the roll-up door, imagining Lena on the other side, imagining her hearing their breath, imagining her hope rising and dying with each second. The keypad beeped once, soft. The lock released. Marla lifted the bottom edge just enough to slip under. Evan helped, fingers shaking, raising it a fraction higher. Cold air spilled out. They ducked into darkness. Inside, the unit was larger than Evan expected. Not a closet. A wide storage bay, cleared of clutter, its concrete floor scrubbed clean in a way that felt obscene. A tripod stood near the center. A camera pointed at a metal chair. And in that chair was Lena. Her head lifted as the door creaked. For a moment, her eyes didn't focus, as if she had learned not to trust movement. Then she saw two human faces without masks. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. A gag had been retaped, thicker than before. Her wrists were bound. Her ankles too. Rope crossed her chest in an X, cinched tight. Evan rushed forward before Marla could stop him. "Lena," he whispered, voice breaking. "We're here." Her eyes filled immediately. Her whole body trembled, not from fear now, but from the shock of being addressed like a person again. Marla moved to the tripod, hand on the camera's power cable. "If this is live, we cut it," she said. Evan hesitated. "If we cut it, they'll know instantly." "They already know," Marla said. She yanked the cable. The camera's red light died. For half a second, the unit felt quieter, as if the room itself exhaled. Then every security light outside snapped on at once, flooding the cracks under the door with harsh white. A speaker somewhere near the ceiling crackled to life. A distorted voice, calm and amused, filled the unit. "Evan," it said, pronouncing his name like a lesson. "You didn't look away? Good." Evan's blood froze. The voice continued, conversational. "Marla Keene, you're early. Also good. We like professionals." Marla's face went still, rage held in a tight line. She didn't answer. The voice chuckled softly. "You came for her," it said. "That's sweet. Now choose." A monitor mounted on the far wall flickered on. Evan hadn't noticed it in the dark. The screen displayed a live vote bar, already moving, as if thousands of invisible fingers were pushing it. Two options filled the screen. Leave with her or leave without her. Evan stared. "What does that mean?" Marla's eyes scanned the room, fast. "It means there's a trap tied to her restraints," she said. "Pressure sensor, motion trigger, something. If we move her, it trips." Lena's eyes darted between them, panic returning as she understood enough to be terrified. Evan's chest tightened. "We can't leave her." The voice came again, gently mocking. "You can," it said. "You did before. On the sidewalk, with your scrolling thumb. You can do it again." Evan's vision blurred with fury. "Shut up." The vote bar surged toward leave without her. Evan realized with sick clarity, the audience wanted the rescue to fail. They wanted to see hope arrive and be denied. They wanted consequences. Marla moved to Lena's side, hands hovering near the knots, careful not to tug. "Lena," she said, voice steady, "I'm going to take the gag off. Nod if you understand." Lena nodded frantically. Marla peeled the tape slowly, controlling the sound. Lena gasped, lips trembling. "Don't," Lena whispered, voice raw. "They said if anyone came, they'd—" Marla cut her off. "I know," she said. "Listen to me. Is there anything on the chair?" "Under you. Wires. Anything you felt?" Lena swallowed. "There's something hard," she whispered. "Under the seat. And the rope. When I move, it pulls." Marla's gaze flicked down to the chair's underside. She didn't touch it. "Okay," she murmured. "Seat device. Probably accelerometer or pressure pad." Evan's phone buzzed again in his pocket, insistently. He pulled it out. A message appeared. "Prove you're not a coward." Below it, a new button. VOTE. Evan's hand shook so badly the screen blurred. "They want me to vote." Marla's eyes snapped to him. "Do not," she said. Evan stared at Lena. Lena stared back, pleading without dignity left to spare. He thought of the line, an honest witness. This was what it meant. Not watching. Choosing. Outside the unit, footsteps sounded on concrete. Not running. Walking. Confident. Marla's head lifted. "We have company," she whispered. The voice in the speaker softened, almost kind. "You can leave now," it said. Or you can stay for the ending. Either way, you'll be remembered. Evan's mind split. One part screamed to grab Lena and run. Another part saw the trap, saw the vote bar, saw the approaching footsteps, and knew that rushing was how you died. Marla reached into her case and pulled out a small canister, spray foam, the kind used to disable sensors without sparks. She aimed it beneath the seat, hands steady. "Hold her head," Marla whispered to Evan. "Keep her still." Evan obeyed, cradling Lena's skull gently, feeling the heat of her skin, the tremor in her breath. Lena whispered, barely audible, "Please don't leave." "I won't," Evan said, though he didn't know if it was a promise or a lie. Marla sprayed foam into the underside of the chair. The hiss sounded impossibly loud in the enclosed unit. On the monitor, the vote bar jerked, then froze for half a second as if the system hesitated. The speaker crackled. The voice sharpened. "Careful," it warned, the politeness thinning. Footsteps stopped outside the door. A gloved hand appeared in the gap under the roll-up, fingers curling, testing the metal. Someone on the other side was listening. Marla's eyes met Evan's. "We go," she mouthed. She cut the chest rope with a small blade, slow, minimizing movement. Evan held Lena steady. Marla's fingers worked at the wrist bindings. Lena's hands came free. Evan expected an alarm. A click. A sudden sound that meant the trap had decided. "Nothing yet." Marla freed Lena's ankles. "On 3, Marla whispered. Evan nodded, heart hammering. 1, Marla breathed. The metal door above them shuddered. Someone was lifting it from the outside, forcing it up. 2. Marla and Evan lifted Lena together, careful, minimal. The moment Lena's weight left the chair, the monitor flashed bright white. A thin, high-pitched tone screamed from somewhere in the unit. An alarm, not for police, but for the show. The speaker voice laughed once, delighted. "There it is," it said. "Now run." The roll-up door jerked upward, flooding the unit with light. A figure stood in the opening, hood up, mask blank, the same smooth face Evan had seen on the stream. Behind the figure, another person held a phone up like a spotlight, its screen showing the vote bar exploding with activity. Marla shoved Evan and Lena toward the back of the unit. "Back exit!" she snapped. Evan hadn't seen one, but Marla had. A narrow service door in the rear wall, half hidden by a hanging tarp. Marla kicked it open. Cold night air hit them. They stumbled into a thin corridor between buildings, slick with rain and littered with pallets. Evan supported Lena, who could barely walk, her legs shaking from hours or days of restraint. Behind them, the masked figure stepped into the unit and raised a hand in a calm wave, as if greeting an audience. Marla didn't look back. She ran. Evan ran too, half dragging Lena, lungs burning. A siren sounded in the distance, but it was wrong, too steady, too close to the pitch of the unit's alarm. A private siren. A manufactured one. The corridor dumped them into the open lot behind the storage building. Marla's car sat where they'd left it, but between them and it, the lot's floodlights had turned the asphalt into a stage. Evan realized with a sick lurch that they were being filmed from multiple angles. Cameras on poles, cameras on the corners. The whole property was designed to capture pursuit. Marla shouted something Evan didn't hear. She threw her hard case into the back seat and yanked the passenger door open. Evan shoved Lena inside. Lena collapsed across the seat, sobbing, hands shaking near her face as if she didn't know what to do with freedom. Evan dove in after her. Marla slammed the driver door and started the engine. The gate at the front of the lot was closed. Evan's phone buzzed in his pocket. The screen lit. One last vote. Open gate or lock them in. The bar surged toward lock them in. Marla swore under her breath. She grabbed Evan's phone from his hand. "Write it," she said. "What?" "Type," Marla snapped. "In the chat. Anything. Buy time. Make them argue." Evan's fingers shook. He unlocked the screen and found the chat field that had appeared beneath the vote. He typed, fast, desperate. "She's alive. You paid for a failure." Messages exploded back instantly, furious, disbelieving. "Liar. Proof. Show her. Don't let them out." The vote bar wavered for the first time, torn between rage and curiosity. Marla hit the horn, long and loud. The sound bounced off metal and concrete, ugly and human. Then she did something Evan didn't expect. She reversed. Not toward the gate, toward the fence line at the side where the chain link sagged near a drainage ditch. "Seatbelt!" Marla barked to no one and everyone. Evan fumbled Lena's belt across her shaking body, then strapped himself in. Marla floored it. The sedan slammed into the sagging fence. Metal shrieked. The posts bent. The car lurched through, tires spinning in mud, dropping into the ditch with a brutal jolt. Lena cried out, a raw sound that made Evan's stomach twist. Marla kept the accelerator down, fighting traction, climbing out the other side onto the service road beyond. The gate behind them stayed closed. But they were outside it now. Evan looked back through the rear window. In the lot, under floodlights, the masked figure stood perfectly still, watching them go like a director watching actors exit a scene. Even from this distance, Evan felt the figure's attention like a hand on his spine. Marla drove without headlights until they hit a main road, then blended into normal traffic like a drop of ink in water. Only when the warehouse district was miles behind did she pull into an empty parking lot and stop. The silence inside the car was thick. Lena's breathing came in shuddering bursts. Evan's hands were trembling so hard his fingertips tingled. Marla turned slightly in her seat, eyes on Lena. "Lena," she said, calm as a metronome. "My name is Marla. This is Evan. You're safe right now. I need you to stay with me, okay? Just breathe." Lena stared at Marla like she didn't understand language anymore. Then she nodded, tiny and exhausted. Evan swallowed. "We need a hospital," he whispered. Marla nodded, but her gaze was distant, calculating. "We need a clean one," she said. "And we need to assume they'll try to intercept the obvious routes." Evan felt cold again. "They'll come after her." "They'll come after all of us," Marla said. Evan looked down at his phone. The screen was dark now, but he knew the ledger existed somewhere, updated in real time. He imagined the audience reacting, furious, thrilled, already demanding the next stream. He imagined the curators uploading clips of the chase, selling the moment Lena's hope returned as content. Fallout wasn't an ending. It was the first wave. And Evan understood, in the heavy quiet of the parking lot, that saving Lena had not closed a door. It had opened one, because now there was proof something real had happened. A living witness with bruised wrists and a broken voice, and two people who had walked into the room and walked out alive. That was enough for an investigation. And also enough for revenge. Character count, no spaces. 61,316. Chapter 6, the ending. They didn't go to the nearest hospital. Marla drove past it without slowing, the bright entrance and the empty ambulance bay feeling like a trap. She took them instead to a small urgent care clinic 20 minutes farther out, in a commercial strip where the lights stayed on late because nobody trusted the night to behave. Evan kept his arm around Lena's shoulders in the back seat. She shook in waves, not constant, but coming and going like aftershocks. Every time her eyes drifted toward the windows, Evan saw panic tighten her face again, as if she expected the blank mask to appear between streetlights. At the clinic, Marla did the talking. She didn't mention live streams or votes. She didn't say darknet. She didn't say anything that would turn the staff into alarm bells. She said Lena had been assaulted. She said they found her bound. She said she needed medical attention, documentation, and a safe room. Evan watched the receptionist's expression shift from annoyance to seriousness. A nurse appeared, then another. Lena was taken through a door into fluorescent light. Evan stood in the waiting area, hands damp, feeling suddenly useless. His body still wanted to run, to keep moving, as if motion alone could keep the masked figure from catching up. Marla sat beside him without asking. Her knee bounced once, then stilled. "You did the worst thing you can do to people like this," she said quietly. Evan blinked. "What?" "You made them lose control," Marla said. "They were staging a ritual. You disrupted it." Evan's stomach tightened. "So they'll come." Marla didn't deny it. She looked at the television mounted in the corner. It played muted news footage of a weather map and a smiling anchor. The world kept performing normal life even now. Evan stared at the wall clock. The second hand moved with the same domestic patience as the clock in his apartment. It felt obscene, like time itself refusing to acknowledge what it had carried. After 40 minutes, a doctor came out and spoke to Marla in a low voice. Marla nodded, asked for copies of documentation, asked for a private contact number. The doctor hesitated, then agreed. The word police was said once carefully, like a tool that could slip and cut. Marla waited until the doctor left. "We need to call," Evan said, voice hoarse. "We have to." "I know," Marla said. "But we do it in a way that doesn't get her killed in a hallway or put you in cuffs before you finish a sentence." Evan's jaw clenched. He hated how much sense that made. Lena was returned to them an hour later. Her wrists were wrapped. A blanket sat around her shoulders like a shield. She looked smaller than in her photos, reduced by exhaustion into something fragile and painfully human. Evan stood when he saw her. "Hey," he whispered. Lena's eyes landed on him and held. There was gratitude there, but it was layered under something heavier. A look that said, "You saw it. You were there. You know what they made me say." Marla guided Lena to the car again, then drove to her apartment above the bookstore. The streets were emptier now, the night thinning toward dawn, and with every mile, Evan felt the adrenaline drain into a deep, sick fatigue. In Marla's apartment, Lena sat on the couch, blankets still around her, hands cupped as if holding invisible warmth. Marla offered water. Lena drank in small sips, eyes fixed on nothing. Evan sat in the chair across from her, careful not to crowd. His mind wanted answers, but he could see how each question might reopen the room. Marla was the one who spoke first, voice steady. "Lena," she said, "I need to ask you something, and you can say no." "Do you remember how you got there?" Lena swallowed. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Daniel," she said. Evan tensed. Lena's eyes flicked toward him, then away. He wasn't Daniel," she added, as if correcting herself hurt. Marla nodded. "Tell me what you remember." Lena took a long breath, trembling. "He asked me to meet him at a rented studio," she said. "He said it was quiet, better for sound. I told my roommates I'd be back." Her eyes squeezed shut briefly. "When I got there, it looked normal. Tripod, lights, a chair." She shuddered. "Always the chair." Evan felt his stomach twist. "There were other people?" Marla asked. Lena hesitated. "I heard them," she said. "Behind walls. Or above. I heard laughter sometimes. Like they were in the next room watching on a screen." Marla's jaw tightened. "And the mask?" Lena's lips trembled. "It wasn't one person," she whispered. "Sometimes the voice was different. Sometimes the hands were different. But the face was always the same." Evan's mouth went dry. "A team. A ritual role. Interchangeable operators behind a symbol." Lena continued, voice small and scraped raw. "They kept telling me that I wanted to be seen, that I begged for it, that my job was to take people's pain and make it content." Tears slid down her cheeks, silent. "They said they were giving me the truth of what I am." Evan clenched his fists. "You're not—" Lena flinched at his voice, then relaxed slightly when he stopped. She wiped her cheek with the edge of the blanket. "They made me talk to the camera," she said. "They made me repeat things until they sounded real. And then," she swallowed hard, "then the chat would—" She didn't finish, but Evan understood. The chat had become a second set of hands, deciding how she would be shaped. Marla leaned forward. "Did you see anything that could help us find them? A sign, a label, a name, a vehicle?" Lena's brow furrowed as if the effort hurt. "I saw a mark on the wall," she whispered. "Like 2 lines through a circle." Evan's breath caught. He reached into his bag and pulled out the photograph. He slid it across the table toward her. Lena stared at it, then nodded, rapid and frightened. "That," she said. "That's it." Marla's eyes narrowed. "Okay," she said. "That's a tag. A signature." Evan felt a surge of anger that was almost relief. Something concrete. Something that belonged to them, not to fear. Marla stood and paced once, then stopped. "We call," she said. "But we don't tell the whole story at once. We give them a missing person recovered, assault, evidence, location, and we keep the darknet part controlled until we're sure who we're talking to." Evan nodded, throat tight. "Okay." Marla picked up her secure phone and dialed. She spoke in a clear, professional tone, giving an address, giving Lena's condition, giving the storage facility location. She withheld names where she could. She didn't mention Evan's involvement beyond found with assistance. She asked for detectives, not patrol. She asked for a supervisor. Evan watched Lena as Marla spoke. Lena's eyes were open but distant, fixed on the floor as if she didn't trust the room to stay stable. When Marla ended the call, she sat back down. "They're sending someone," she said. "Soon," Evan exhaled shakily. For a few minutes, the apartment was quiet. Only the hum of the refrigerator, the soft shuffle of Lena's breathing, the distant hiss of traffic waking up outside. Evan thought foolishly that this might be the moment where the story turned toward closure. Then his phone lit up. It was still on silent, still in his pocket. And yet it pulsed like a heartbeat. Evan stared at the screen without touching it. A new notification sat there, calm and clean. Upload complete. Under it was a link title, The Rescue. Evan's blood chilled. Marla saw his face and stood instantly. "What is it?" Evan held the phone out, hands trembling. Marla's eyes scanned the words. Her jaw tightened. "They recorded everything," she said. Evan's throat closed. "The chase," he whispered. "The unit. Wes. Lena." Lena looked up, slow, and the moment her eyes hit the phone, she understood. Her face drained of color. "They're going to show it," she whispered. Marla's voice stayed steady, but Evan heard the anger beneath it. "They already did," she said. "To someone." Evan's mind raced. They had cut the camera in the unit, but the lot had been wired. The floodlights, the corner cameras, the gate system. They had built redundancy so that no single unplugged cable could end the show. Lena's hands began to shake again, worse this time, as if her body recognized captivity returning in a new form. Evan's voice cracked. "We saved you!" Lena looked at him, eyes wet, and for the first time there was something like rage there. "You saved my body," she whispered. "But they kept the rest." Evan felt the truth of that settle like stone. Marla took the phone and powered it down, then removed the battery pack. It still felt ridiculous, like closing an umbrella in a hurricane. "They're escalating," Marla said. "They're telling us, even your victory belongs to us." Evan stared at the blank phone screen. "What do they want now?" Marla didn't answer immediately. She looked at Lena, at the bruises on her wrists, at the tremor in her hands, at the way her eyes kept darting to corners. "They want an ending," Marla said softly. "Not for Lena. For the audience. They want to teach the watchers what happens when the prey is taken away." Evan swallowed. "So they'll take someone else." Marla nodded once. "Or try to." A knock sounded at the door. Evan's entire body locked. Marla raised a hand, steadying. "That's likely the detectives," she said. "We called them." But Evan couldn't stop his mind from painting a blank face on the other side. Marla went to the door and looked through the peephole. Her shoulders eased slightly. "Police," she said quietly. Then she paused. "Two of them." She opened the door. Two detectives stood in the hallway. Plain clothes, badges out. One older, tired-eyed. One younger, sharper. Marla kept her voice even, controlled. She introduced herself. She introduced Evan. She gestured for them to come in. Evan watched them enter and felt, for a moment, a strange dizziness. Like seeing authority in the same room as horror made both of them feel unreal. The older detective spoke first. "We got a call about a recovered missing person," he said, eyes moving to Lena with a flicker of concern. "Miss Brooks?" Lena nodded barely. The younger detective glanced at Evan. "You found her?" Evan opened his mouth. Marla answered smoothly. "We located her after receiving information," she said. "We retrieved her and brought her for medical care." The older detective nodded slowly. "Information from where?" Marla hesitated just enough to appear cautious, not evasive. "Online," she said. "We can provide details once Miss Brooks is stable." The younger detective's gaze sharpened. "What kind of online?" Evan felt his chest tighten. He saw how one wrong word could derail everything. How quickly this could become about Evan's methods instead of Lena's survival. Before Marla could answer, Lena spoke. Her voice was thin, but it cut through the room with the force of a truth that didn't care about procedure. "They filmed it," she said. "They streamed me. They let people vote." The older detective's expression tightened. "Streamed you where?" Lena's lips trembled. "I don't know," she whispered. "It was hidden, but I heard them. I heard the chat. I heard laughter." The younger detective looked at his partner, then back to Marla and Evan. "We need everything," he said. "Right now," Marla's jaw set. "We have a drive," she said. "And a location. And a symbol." The older detective nodded. "Okay," he said. "Okay. We'll take it." Evan felt relief surge, then stall, because something in the younger detective's posture felt wrong. Not hostile. Not incompetent. Just too controlled. Too calm for what he was hearing. Evan's mind, trained to read patterns, snagged on it the way it snagged on a stain in the concrete room. The younger detective's phone buzzed. He glanced at it quick, then pocketed it. Evan saw, just for a fraction of a second, the notification banner on that screen. Upload complete. Evan's blood went cold. He stared at the younger detective, searching his face for some sign that he had imagined it. But the detective's expression didn't change. His eyes remained steady, professional. Marla noticed Evan's stare. Her gaze followed, sharp as a blade. "Is something wrong?" Marla asked, voice neutral. The younger detective smiled slightly. "It wasn't warm." "No," he said. "Nothing's wrong." Evan felt a heavy realization settle in his chest, quiet and final. This wasn't just a group hiding in concrete rooms. This was a system that reached outward, into ordinary institutions, into uniforms, into places people went when they had nowhere else. Evan's voice came out in a whisper. "Marla," he said, barely moving his lips. "The notification." Marla's eyes narrowed. She understood instantly, or at least understood enough. The older detective was speaking now, asking Lena questions, trying to be gentle. Lena answered in broken phrases, eyes darting. The younger detective stood closer to the door than he needed to, as if guarding it, or preparing to close it. Evan felt the room tilt. His mind raced through what this meant and found no safe conclusion. If one of them was compromised, how many others were? How long had it been like this? Who had built the stage? The younger detective's hand drifted toward his radio, slow. Marla's voice stayed calm. "Before you take anything," she said to the older detective, "I want to make sure this is properly logged. Chain of custody. I'm sure you understand." The older detective nodded. "Of course," he said, still focused on Lena. The younger detective's eyes flicked to Marla, then to Evan. "Let's not complicate this," he said softly. Evan's heartbeat pounded in his ears. Marla's gaze held steady. "We're not," she said. "We're doing it right." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Lena, wrapped in her blanket, spoke again, voice shaking but firm with a clarity born from survival. "They said," she whispered, "that names are for police." The younger detective's smile widened a fraction. Evan felt the last thread of hope snap cleanly. It wasn't that the police couldn't help. It was that help had been invited into the same room. Marla moved first. Not with sudden violence. Not with a dramatic gesture. Just a simple, deliberate motion. She stepped between the younger detective and the door, blocking his line without making it obvious. And Evan understood what she was doing, buying seconds. The older detective looked up, confused. "What?" Marla's voice was calm. "Detective," she said to the older one. "What's your badge number?" The older detective blinked. "It's..." The younger detective's hand closed around his radio. Marla moved again, faster now, and in one clean motion she slapped the radio from his hand, sending it clattering across the floor. The younger detective's expression finally cracked. Not anger. Annoyance. Like a performer whose scene had been interrupted. Evan grabbed Lena's hand. "We go," he whispered. Lena stood unsteadily, blanket slipping. Her legs shook, but she moved. The older detective shouted something, protest, confusion. The younger detective lunged toward Marla. Marla met him with her forearm, driving him back just enough to clear space. Evan dragged Lena toward the back of the apartment, where Marla had a fire escape window that opened onto a narrow metal stairwell. He fumbled the latch. His hands were shaking so badly he nearly dropped it. Behind him, a thud. A grunt. The sound of bodies against furniture. Evan yanked the window open. Cold air rushed in. "Lena," he said, voice raw. "Climb." Lena hesitated, eyes wide with terror. Evan forced his voice softer. "You did it once," he whispered. "You can do it again. Just move." Lena climbed out, trembling, gripping the metal railing with wrapped hands. Evan followed, then turned back. Marla was still in the room, locked with the younger detective in a tight struggle. The older detective stood frozen, stunned, reaching for his own radio. Marla's eyes snapped to Evan for 1 second. "Go," she said. Evan's throat tightened. "Marla, go!" Evan obeyed. He climbed down after Lena into the narrow alley behind the bookstore. They ran, not toward safety, but away from a door that no longer meant protection. They stopped under a street lamp 2 blocks away, both gasping. Lena bent over, hands on her knees, sobbing silently. Evan stood rigid, scanning the street, expecting the blank mask to appear in any passing face. His phone, dead or powered down, still felt like it was buzzing in his pocket. Evan looked at Lena. Her eyes were wide, haunted but alive. "We can't trust anyone," Evan whispered. Lena nodded, tears running down her cheeks. "They're everywhere," she said. Evan stared into the dark end of the street where the lamps didn't reach. He imagined the livestream audience watching this too, the escape from the police, the twist that made it more entertaining, the way reality kept offering new chapters. He understood with quiet horror that the story was no longer just about one captive and one rescue. It was about the shape of a world where cruelty could be organized like a service, where the audience wasn't a crowd in a room but a network, where the mask didn't belong to one person but to a system that could be worn by anyone who wanted to disappear inside it. Evan's voice came out small. "We did everything right," he said, as if saying it could make it true. Lena looked at him, and her expression was not comforting. It was honest. "No," she whispered. "You did what you could." "That's not the same thing." In the distance, a siren wailed. Real this time, maybe, or maybe not. Evan couldn't tell anymore. The street lamp above them buzzed faintly, the same industrial buzz as the light in the concrete room, and Evan felt his stomach drop at the coincidence. Or at what was no longer coincidence, because as he stood there, trying to decide where safe could exist, his pocket grew warm. Not from the phone, from something else. Evan reached inside and pulled out a folded piece of paper he didn't remember putting there, a small, crisp slip like a receipt. On it was printed a single line. "Thank you for watching.